Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a little work on my my wife's Yukon here. I don't really use it to pull trailers or anything. I usually use my truck, but every once in a while I'll hook up a trailer just to like move it around in the driveway or something. And when I first did that, the back bumper about hit the ground because when they changed the body style in 2000, they went to a rear coil spring instead of a leaf spring, and the emphasis was more on like getting the vehicle to ride like a car than it was on utility. So I went online, I tried to find some heavier rear springs for it. I didn't really have any luck. I know they make them like heavier leaf springs for trucks and stuff. I couldn't find a heavier leaf for this car, and I ended up getting some H2 Hummer springs. The H2 Hummer is a bigger, heavy duty truck, but it uses the same style rear suspension as a Tahoe, Suburban, Avalanche, or Yukon. So that's what I put in there. It ended up picking up the truck. It picked up the rear probably, I didn't measure, I would guess probably like 3 inches or something. So as you can tell, it's raked pretty hard in the front. The front's still bone stock. So today I want to lift the front of the truck. It's pretty easy to do. I'm just gonna put in a longer shock. Is the only real part you gotta put in. The stock shock, you can't crank up the torsion bars too much because it's almost, you know, all the way bottomed out. If you crank up the torsion bars on a stock shock, you're just gonna bottom out the shock and it's gonna feel real rough and terrible when you drive. So I got some longer shocks. I'm gonna toss them in. It's quick and easy to do, and I bet you'll get, you know, a solid 2 inches. You know, I'm guessing probably 2 or 3 inches out of cranking these stock torsion bars up. So let's get to work. So the easiest way to take your shocks out, if you're replacing them and you're planning on throwing them away, this will damage them to where they can't be put back on, but I'm replacing them anyway. So the fastest and easiest way to remove the top is from underneath the hood. If you look here, this is the passenger side engine bay. Here is your shock mount here. Now if you try to take this nut off, it's probably going to spin the whole shaft here. You're going to have to find a way to hold that tight. It's kind of a pain in the butt. However, there is a much easier way to get that out. I'll show that to you. Alright guys, so all you gotta do, I got my 15mm socket, I got a long extension. You slide that onto the nut, and all you do to take this off is you wiggle it back and forth. Wiggle. There you go, snapped it right off. That's the fastest and easiest way to take off the top of them. They're usually rusty, and it can be a pain in the butt to do it the normal way, and if you're just throwing them away anyway, there's no reason to save them. So that's what I do. Go ahead and pull these tires off. So the top of the shock is free. All that's left is this bolt here in the bottom. All right, there's the old shock. I'm gonna go grab the new one. So to replace her stock shock, which is here, I got a set of these Pro Comp ES 9000s. It looks like this one is part number 917580, and it's as you can tell, looks like it's got a good 3 to 4 inches longer than stock, but it still compresses kind of close to stock. It's a good shock for a slightly lifted GM truck. So I'm just gonna put in my bottom bolt here and put the top stud through the hole, and then we'll put the nut on from the top. So the bottom's tightened up. Now I just gotta slide on this rubber piece on the top, the washer, and the nut. I'll go ahead and I'll tighten that nut once I get the truck back on the ground. It's kind of hard to reach over the fender and reach it when it's up in the air. All right, truck's back down on the ground. We'll go ahead and snug these up. The next side. Alright guys, I got the wheels back on, shocks are fully on. I'm gonna go ahead and get a before and after before I start cranking it up. Looks like this is right at 36 inches. So let's go ahead and jack up these torsion bars and we'll see how much taller it gets. So jacking up your torsion bars are really easy. First step, you want your tires off the ground. That way the suspension's fully relaxed. Climb up underneath here. All right, so here's under the truck. This here's your torsion bar. If you follow that back, the end of the torsion bar is your torsion key. And all you really gotta do to jack it up is tighten this bolt up. But what I like to do is take it all the way out. A lot of times it'll be rusty. This one don't look too bad. If they're rusty, just take a wire wheel or something to it. I like to put anti-seize on them. It's kind of lubricates the thread, makes it a little bit easier to tighten them up. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a little anti-seize on this. That should be enough. And go ahead and just thread this back in. This is as easy as lifting the truck is. You just take this and run that back up in there. There you go. Let's go ahead and run them all the way up. And that's as much lift as you can get from your stock key. If you want to go a little bit higher, you don't want to go too high with your stock suspension because it can put your CV joints at a bad angle. But this high, or maybe just a hair higher, would probably be just fine. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the second one. There it is. That's got to be the easiest lift kit or the easiest vehicle to lift ever. I mean, these torsion bars, you get a little bit more shock travel with the newer shock, and then you just tighten these up. So let's go ahead and drop this thing and we'll see how much taller it is. So what was it, 36? We're sitting at 37 and a half. So I guess I was a little bit off on my estimate. I thought maybe I'd get a couple inches out of it. Turns out it's only an inch and a half. So you get at least an inch and a half out of it. And if you look, the back's still a little bit taller, but it looks better. It's closer, you know, it's closer to being level. I'll go ahead and show you these springs if you want to see them. So these springs were like a night and day difference as far as weight capacity. You can put a big trailer on it now and it don't squat very much. And it's a I think they call it a progressive rate spring. So basically some of the spring is very stiff and some of the spring is not. So when you're unloaded, it rides pretty nice, and then when it's loaded it compresses the easier part, and then the heavier spring carries the weight. And this is not the first one I've had these springs on. I can tell you, cranking these torsion bars up and putting these big springs on here, it gives the suspension a little bit more travel, and I actually think it makes the ride better than stock, or smoother than stock. You can eat them speed bumps and stuff a little easier than it did when it was new. So yeah, I like it. The only thing I need to do now, once you crank up your suspension and you change all the angles and everything, you gotta go get an alignment. Your alignment will be off when you're done doing that. So I'm gonna hop out from underneath here and get this thing to the alignment shop, and she'll be all set. It needed alignment anyway, so it didn't even really cost me any more money. I've been wanting to get an alignment. I've been waiting to crank these up before I do it. So I'm gonna drop this off to the alignment shop, and now she sits a little higher than others. This will work on your 2000 to 06 SUVs, Tahoe, Suburban, Avalanche, and equivalent. It will also be the same on a 99 to 06 truck, half-ton truck. If they got torsion bars in the front, that's going to be the same thing. To lift the rear, you'd have to get like a block or some other method to lift the rear, but your front suspension is going to be the same deal. So if you want to get just a little bit taller, I definitely would go with the longer shocks, and then just go ahead and crank up your stock torsion bars. And then I've even put different keys in them. The one I did put a key in, I ended up putting it like the lowest setting, and it was really similar to the stock one with the highest setting. So I just crank up the stock ones. It's close enough. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and check back for future videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.